a city that has witnessed the rise and fall of empires, the fulfillment of ancient prophecies, and the stirrings of destiny itself, Jerusalem. But today something feels different, something urgent. The ancient streets seem to whisper of a foretold future, and the question is it happening now? Jerusalem is preparing for something more profound than anyone imagined. A prophecy that's been dormant for centuries is suddenly alive, a cosmic shift that can no longer be ignored. What is this ancient city on the edge of the world getting ready for? And most chilling of all, could it mean that Jesus is returning sooner than we ever thought possible? The signs are unmistakable. The world is on the brink. Are we ready to face the unimaginable? What startling discovery have Jerusalem's religious leaders uncovered that suggests the return of Jesus could happen in our lifetime? What unsettling geological activity beneath the Mount of Olives is shaking scientists today? There's a prophecy that speaks directly to this. On that day, his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, east of Jerusalem, and the Mount of Olives will split in two. Jerusalem is witnessing events that are setting the stage for a world-changing moment. But is humanity truly prepared for what's unfolding? Or has the clock already passed the point of no return? Throughout history, believers have long kept their eyes on four major prophetic signs that would signal the return of Christ. Right now, all four signs are converging. But which one should cause us the most concern? And why are some warning that the time to prevent what's coming might already be over? Among these signs, one stands out for its urgency, and it might already be too late to stop it. The first sign, Israel's rebirth. Before Jesus returns, the Bible clearly states that Israel must be reborn as a nation. But it's not just the rebirth itself, it's the sequence of events that followed that gives this prophecy new and striking depth. One of the most astonishing prophecies, spoken over 2,500 years ago, became reality in our time. Isaiah 66:8. Who has heard such a thing? Who has seen such things? Can a nation be born in a day? Can a country be brought forth in a moment? On May 14, 1948, this prophecy was fulfilled. Israel was born in a single day. But what astronomical event happened that very day, suggesting that God himself was behind Israel's restoration? This wasn't coincidence. It was a divine act. After nearly 2,000 years of exile, Israel rose again. But what mysterious force is now driving the Jewish people to return to their ancestral homeland at an extraordinary speed? For centuries, many believed Israel's return would never happen. But God had other plans. In the aftermath of World War II, a miracle unfolded against all odds. Israel was reborn, and prophecy began to unfold rapidly. In 1967, Israel reclaimed Jerusalem after nearly 2 millennia. In 1995, Jerusalem was declared Israel's eternal capital. In 2018, the United States officially recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Now, the entire world is watching Israel more closely than ever before. The second sign, the gathering of the people. The Jewish people are not only returning to the land, they are doing so at an unprecedented rate. What's driving this extraordinary migration? What unseen force is at work? Deuteronomy 30:3. Then the Lord your God will restore your fortunes and have compassion on you, and gather you again from all the nations where he has scattered you. Ezekiel 37:12. I will bring you back to the land of Israel. A supernatural force is at work, gathering the people of Israel from the ends of the earth. A promise spoken through the prophets is now unfolding in real time. The return isn't over. More and more are being called home each day. But what might this final gathering indicate about what's coming next? The third sign, the construction of the third temple for generations. The Jewish people have long awaited the day the Holy Temple would be rebuilt. This powerful prophecy is found in the books of Daniel, Revelation, and even in the teachings of Jesus. And now, preparations are already in motion. What sacred artifacts have been discovered recently that could accelerate the rapid construction of the third temple? Once the temple is rebuilt, a pivotal moment in prophecy will be set into motion. Daniel 9:27. Then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, but in the middle of the week he will put an end to sacrifice and offering. A powerful world leader will broker a peace deal, but halfway through he will halt temple sacrifices, which means the temple must already exist. So what deals are being made behind the scenes to make this prophecy a reality? 2 Thessalonians 2:4. He will oppose and will exalt himself over everything that is called God or is worshipped, so that he sets himself up in God's temple, proclaiming himself to be God. This future ruler will enter the temple and declare himself divine. But for that to happen, the third temple must be rebuilt, and it's already underway. The Temple Institute in Jerusalem has already crafted the sacred menorah, reconstructed the high priest's garments, forged the sacred vessels used in temple worship. Everything is ready. The only thing left is permission to begin. But what forces are conspiring to prevent the temple's construction? And who holds the key to its final approval? The final piece, the red heifer. Before the temple can be built, it must be purified. And according to Numbers 19:2, that purification requires a flawless red heifer. Speak to the children of Israel that they bring you a red heifer without blemish, in which there is no defect, and on which a yoke has never come. For over 2,000 years, Israel has searched for a red heifer that meets these strict requirements. And then, in 2022, 5 perfect red heifers arrived in Israel from the United States. But what eerie sign appeared the moment they landed, leaving the priests in fear? If just one of these heifers remains pure until it reaches the proper age, it could be sacrificed, enabling the purification of the temple site. But where will the temple be built? Some believe it will rise next to the Dome of the Rock. Others point to newly discovered evidence that might change everything we think we know about the true location of the temple. One thing is certain: Jewish leaders are determined. They believe the temple will be built, and preparations are already underway. But what conflicts are brewing that could determine its fate? Is the final struggle already beginning in secret? The rebuilding of the third temple is not just a matter of faith, it's a countdown to the end. And the clock is ticking faster than ever before. As these events unfold, the end times grow nearer. A city surrounded. The Bible foretells a time when all the nations of the world will turn against Jerusalem. But what powerful coalition is secretly forming to betray this sacred city? As the world's political landscape shifts, there's growing pressure to divide Jerusalem, making it a flashpoint of global controversy. Does this scenario sound like it's becoming a reality? What secret discussions are happening behind closed doors to determine Jerusalem's fate? Zechariah 12:3. On that day, when all the nations of the earth are gathered against her, I will make Jerusalem an immovable rock for all the nations. All who try to move it will injure themselves. So, what disaster awaits the first nation, bold enough to challenge Jerusalem? This is happening right now, and the United Nations may be closer to fulfilling this prophecy than anyone realizes. The United Nations is now in active talks about how to control Jerusalem. Calls for splitting Israel are intensifying by the day. What critical action is the UN about to take that could turn Jerusalem into a battleground in an instant? For the first time in history, all eyes are on this city, and the world is watching closely to see how the situation unfolds. At the heart of the current international debate is the two-state solution, a proposal that seeks to divide Jerusalem and place parts of it under international oversight. But the Bible makes one thing clear: Jerusalem is God's city, and any attempt to divide it will lead to divine judgment. What consequences will those nations face for trying to divide God's land? And how soon could that judgment unfold? Joel 3:2. I will gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat. There I will put them on trial for what they did to my inheritance, Israel, because they scattered my people among the nations and divided up my land. Despite God's warnings, the world is moving full speed ahead with these plans. We're seeing a disturbing trend. Nations that once supported Israel are shifting their stance, condemning Israel's right to its own land. Major global powers are aligning against Jerusalem. Every influential leader has a strong opinion about what should happen to the city. This global focus is not accidental. It's a clear indicator that biblical prophecy is unfolding before our eyes. The most contested piece of land in all of Jerusalem is the Temple Mount, the holiest site in Judaism. It's where the first and second temples once stood, and it's where the third temple is expected to rise. The conflict surrounding this sacred site is pushing the world toward a major confrontation. The Bible states clearly, the battle for Jerusalem will ignite a final global conflict. And now, We're watching the pieces fall into place. Zechariah 14:2. I will gather all the nations to Jerusalem to fight against it. The city will be captured, the world will rise against Jerusalem, and in that moment, Jesus himself will return. As the world conspires against Jerusalem, the city itself is preparing for the fulfillment of prophecy. The Jewish people are returning. The alignment of events is happening at a pace no one expected. The world may believe it controls the narrative, but God has already written the ending. Will the world's defiance of prophecy lead to its ultimate downfall? The King is on his way. The greatest prophecy of all lies in the return of Jesus. Zechariah 14:4. On that day, his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, east of Jerusalem, and the Mount of Olives will be split in two. When Jesus returns, he will set foot on the Mount of Olives, and the earth will split as a sign of his arrival. But what strange occurrences are happening on the Mount of Olives right now that may point to this exact moment? When he touches the ground, the earth will split in two, and now scientists have discovered a fault line running beneath the Mount of Olives. If a significant earthquake were to strike, the mountain could split, just as Scripture foretells. What seismic activity is currently being observed? And could it happen at any moment? Could this be the sign we've all been waiting for? The signs are all around us. Jerusalem is on the verge of something monumental. Time is running out. What final signal will appear on the Mount of Olives to confirm that Jesus' return is imminent? And what if that signal is already starting to emerge? Matthew 24:42. Watch therefore, for you do not know what hour your Lord is coming. The Bible stands alone, a history book like no other in any library. It spans the entire story of the world, from its creation to its eventual end. What makes it unique? No human being was there at the beginning to witness it all firsthand. But we know how it ends. Why? Because God has told us. He didn't give us prophecy just to satisfy curiosity. He gave it so we could prepare, so we wouldn't be caught off guard when the time comes. We can be thankful that Jesus spoke openly and honestly about what's to come. A common question today is, are we in the end times? The Bible speaks of the last days, and those days began over 2,000 years ago at Pentecost. That moment marked the beginning of prophecies that are now coming to life before our eyes. Every generation of believers has been called to live with anticipation, ready at any moment for the Lord's return. The Bible is full of prophecy predictions about what is yet to come. In fact, there are 735 prophecies throughout Scripture. 1 out of every 4 chapters contains a prophetic message. While some books focus more on prophecy than others, from Genesis to Revelation, the Bible is a prophetic book. Out of those 735 prophecies, 596 have already been fulfilled, exactly as they were foretold. That means a staggering 81% of Bible prophecy has already come true. Some of these prophecies were written hundreds, even thousands of years before they came to pass. With a fulfillment rate like that, it's not hard to believe that the remaining 19% will unfold just as precisely. The Bible has been right 100% of the time when it comes to the prophecies fulfilled so far. And most of what remains concerns the return of Jesus Christ and the events that will follow. So, how many prophecies still need to be fulfilled before Jesus returns? The number is around 20. These final prophecies are not to be ignored. We are told to watch for the signs and stay alert as they begin to unfold. Jesus himself urged us to be vigilant and prayerful. But what exactly are we watching for? We're not meant to simply stare into the sky, waiting for his appearance. That's not what he intended. Instead, he wants us to observe the world around us, to stay attentive to the signs he clearly gave us so that we can be prepared, not caught off guard. These signs aren't random. They are the signals we've been given. In Matthew 24, the disciples asked Jesus a direct question. What will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? And Jesus gave a clear, honest, and prophetic answer. While sitting on the Mount of Olives, his disciples came to him privately and asked, "Tell us, when will all this happen? What sign will signal your return and the end of the world?" Jesus replied, "Don't let anyone mislead you. Many will come in my name, claiming I am the Messiah. They will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. These things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. Then he warned, "You will be handed over, persecuted, and put to death. You will be hated by all nations because of me." At that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other. Many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved.